Or Things Invest, we'll talk about investing, finance, professional development. For today's video, it's Ethereum only. The investment we'll talk about today will be Ethereum ticker ETH. With respect to my video that I posted yesterday on the catalyst on propelling the pump that we've experienced during this Sunday and Monday, with respect to the article on Elon Musk potentially adopting Bitcoin again, right, with respect to potentially using as a form of payment solutions going forward, but with a great contingency on this stem from the renewable energy source of the mining of those Bitcoins. And with respect to the catalyst on Sunday, Ethereum was up about 7.5% at one point, and on Monday yesterday, it was up about 4.5% at one point. So it was relatively a good couple of days, if you may, right? And as of today, we can see that as of 9 a.m. this morning on the East Coast, currently trading about like 0.19%, trading around like the $2,591, so $2,600 approximately. With respect to a recent news, more recently, last night, exactly 12 hours ago, at 7 p.m. last night, CoinDesk released an article about MicroStrategy, Michael Sayer, the CEO, on potentially selling up to $1 billion in stock and using the proceed to buy more Bitcoin. MicroStrategy is currently holding about 92,079 Bitcoins, and the valuation is about, if you do the math, about 3 billion. 3.68 billion to be exact. And with respect to the latest capital raise that they're expecting to sell this $1 billion in stock, that could potentially bring up the valuation of the total amount that MicroStrategy is going to be holding to $5 billion. So, which is a relatively good catalyst, a good foreshadow. But at the moment, we don't really have any ideas as to like what price point are they thinking about ideally loading at, or what time frame are they thinking about buying at as well, right? We just know about like it's going to be about $1 billion in value approximation, right? So this is definitely a good signal, a good foreshadow. So I'm gonna go through a technical analysis to see what levels of resistance should we be expecting going forward. Are we gonna see more of a surge coming with this major catalyst that we're gonna be expecting going forward? Are we gonna be more expecting more selling pressure, with respect to this anticipation of this major purchase that MicroStrategy is gonna be doing, and my price target for year in 2021 as well. So stay tuned, stick around, let's make some money. Moving on to the technical analysis for Ethereum, ticker ETH. Let's look at the most recent time frame, right? Let's start with Thursday, last Thursday. So you could see that on Thursday, on June 10th, we were having some selling pressure, and subsequently on the Friday specifically as well. So the Thursday was mainly driven by the super report that we got, right? The report was relatively positive, right? Foreshadowing more of a positive outlook going forward for the economy in the US going forward, despite the rising price, obviously, to offset the inflations that we're getting, right? And on top of that, with respect to the inflation's emphasis that we've been getting on the media expectation, it drove some selling pressure in the equity market in a more of a premature level, but people will slowly realize that, the economy is slowly coming back up, and the inflation was just a logical thing that was occurring that has been foreshadowed for the 1.5 years so far, that the institutional buying ship definitely pumped back in, and that subsequently drove some selling pressure on the Ethereum and across the whole crypto market as well, because equity market is anti-correlating with the crypto market, right? So subsequently drove some selling pressure around there. And then on Saturday, we see that we were kind of just hovering, consolidating without like any major catalyst, basically reconfirming the level of resistance that we've had on May 30th. So basically like about like a month ago. And on Sunday, around like noontime, I believe on 2 p.m. Eastern time, with respect to the article that released on Elon Musk's proposal on potentially accepting Bitcoin as a form of payment solution again, right? But with that, obviously, great contingency on that green renewable energy initiative that he's proposing, right? He wants only 50% of the Bitcoin that's being mined to be coming from a renewable energy source, right? So that's a great caveat, a great contingency, however, a great foreshadow, which subsequently provides some drag effects to Bitcoin, obviously, but also with respect to secondarily, if they're known to be like the silver to Bitcoin, which is known for like a gold, to have some drag effects for the safe haven affectation to drive up the price point from basically from the $2,332 all the way to the $2,400 $478. So that was like about like a 7% pump from there. And then subsequently on Monday, that affectation continues by about like 4.5% from the 2,474 to about like the $2,586. So another 4.5% of a pump. And as of last night, exactly 13 hours ago, at 7 p.m. last night, with respect to the CoinDesk article on Michael Sayer from Microstrategy proposing to potentially sell about $1 billion in stock into allocating part of that portion to buy Bitcoin again, right? But with respect to this purchase, we have not identified or have been notified by MicroStrategy on when are they expecting to buy, right? They're just proposing. Is this more like a foreshadow, which subsequently drove some buying pressure, a little bit, despite the surge that we've had in the last 2 days already. But we do not know like if this is going to be something that is confirmed or when is the time of purchasing. So with respect to the affectations to the market influence, it was relatively weak despite this like good foreshadow coming. And you could see that on the MACD perspective, we are crossing upward, which is a good sign. So I do foresee us to have some pushing pressure despite the green days we've had so far. And on top of that, RSI, you could see that we kind of overbought at the level. So this is kind of offsetting each other. So I don't foresee like a major pump up, like to like get back up to like $2,750 like anytime soon at the moment, because of the fact that these kind of net cancels each other out. So I don't really see like a one specific directions that we're going to. And knowing the fact that the catalyst for Elon Musk news was relatively short-lived again, right? It was a contingency on that renewable energy source. Like, how likely are you going to be able to identify the sources of all the crypto mining sources when it's like such a decentralized type of assets to begin with lack of compliance pressure to begin with? It's very counterintuitive. And with respect to this like MicroStrategy proposal of buying 1 billion. Yeah, I mean, they are proposing to buy 1 billion, but when are they buying it? How are they going to be buying it? At what price point? I mean, they're not going to just buy it at any levels, right? They're going to buy at the discount level, right? Which is what most investors are going to be doing, right? So I think, with respect to the catalyst that we saw, the two, subpar positive catalysts that we experienced during this weekend and also to last night was relatively short fuse, right? So I think the real news that's going to be coming out is when they confirm with us that Elon Musk is going to accept Bitcoin and is approved to be part of their processes, and MicroStrategy decide to buy in at that level, at that certain time, certain price point. Once we have those like confirmatory news, then we will have that search going, right? But right now, because these news are relatively just fluff in the air, without any substance, right? Again, right, we need that substance for us to propel the supply and demand dynamics going forward. That right now, I think we're just going to be trading sideways going forward. I don't foresee us to be pumping up and away to like the 2,750 as a form of ceiling of consolidation, bouncing between the walls right here, right? I foresee us to like kind of floating from here and potentially trend a little bit more, maybe going up to the $2,629, and then slowly sell back down to go back to the 2,450, and slowly coming back down to the $2,292 or the $2,300, because we need to go through that RSI cycle, and also at the same time the MACD it needs to cross back up down for us to go back upward from there, right? And with respect to the wedge that I'm talking about, we still need to confirm because the wedge seems like it's tightening a little bit. So I think MicroStrategy, they're probably watching the level of the wedge that's forming at the moment, that the likelihood of us like breaking down to like the $1,730 level, or for Bitcoin to go down to like the $29,000 level or somewhere even below that. Let's see how low we can get to the $24,000 level. That could be possible. Contingent on the wedge that we're forming, right? I think the wedge for Ethereum is definitely looking more and more prominent as we go, and you could see that it's forming a. I foresee the dip is going to be somewhere around like the 2,450 and then going to go back up. So we are definitely forming some sort of like a upward trend at the moment. So definitely a bearish sign. And I think that's the reason why MicroStrategy is indicating they are potentially going to be buying as a sign of a foreshadow that the dump or the crash is coming. So something to look out for. We still need to further verify the trends going forward. It seems like that's the play that's coming right now. So that's something we need to be mindful of. Just to recap on all the numbers that we just talked about today, with respect to the current price point of the $2,450, I think there's a likelihood that we will actually go back there as a first form of resistance level before we go back up. And with respect to like, are we going to be going down to the $2,100? I think that likelihood of getting so would be relatively slim at the moment, because of the fact that we are forming more of an upward wedge at the moment. So for us to get there, I think the newly formed type of base in a short-term perspective will be somewhere around like the 2,450, right? But that's still something we need to verify to further observe to see if this wedge is really forming, because eventually we gotta get to the point that we're gonna have a major sell-off to go down all the way to the $1,750 level, which is the steep level that we're expecting, right? And I think with respect to how it correlates to Bitcoin, I think that's where it's gonna be going in the near term. But we still need to confirm on the wedge, right? Because it's forming, but with respect to the catalyst that we got on Sunday and Monday, that was a relatively short fuse type of catalyst. It has nothing to really do with the supply and demand dynamics. So those are like the triggers that we need to kind of adjust for the trends that we have at the moment. But if the wedge is forming in a more of a natural occurrence going forward, then we know that the wedge is truly confirmed, and we are going to be expecting a sizable sell-off going forward. But with respect to like long term wise, if you think about like holding it for a long term, 12 months from now, 20% corporate adoption is very likely, knowing the fact that the foreshadow for both the corporate adoptions for Tesla, what Elon Musk has proposed, and also with respect to MicroStrategy on potentially buy 1 billion of Bitcoin, will have the drag effects for Ethereum as well, right? Knowing the fact that it's the silver plated asset class in comparisons to the gold-plated asset class that Bitcoin stands for, right? Which will have the correlation effects to get us there. And eventually it will generate a 4x your money from here if you're buying at this moment right now. Alright, so that's it for today with respect to my technical analysis on Ethereum ticker ETH. Hopefully that gave you guys a little bit more clarity and transparencies around the trends that we have going forward and some of the catalysts that we need to look out for going forward as well. Really appreciate you guys for dropping by, and please, feel free to hit me up if you have any questions or there was anything that was unclear. Really appreciate it. Please stay tuned for the next video coming up. Take care.